T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good morning, everybody, in what is probably one of the most significant days that we've had, in a long time, I would say. I apologize if I'm a little bit off it today. I only slept for like 2 hours last night. I'm not feeling 100%, but today is a significant day. Look, I've even put on a polo neck. Formal, because it feels formal. Today is the day where the second bids are going to be going in for Manchester United. We've got James Ducker in the Telegraph reporting that the Qatari bid have total confidence in their bid. I'm going to run through that full article from James Ducker, from Tom Morgan, I think Sam Wallace as well. Slight updates from Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic, from Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail. Today's a big day. Today is when it really gets real, I suppose. I suppose you could say it kind of got real when, Jim Ratcliffe was at Old Trafford the day before, when the Qatari delegation was at Old Trafford. But today is when those bids go in excess of £5 billion. It's going to be a world record deal for a sports franchise. I hate calling Manchester United a sports franchise, but in business terms, that's what they call it. But good morning to everybody. Let me see who's down here in the comments, because as I said, today's going to be a really, really big and a really, really important show. We've been waiting for this. This time next week, we might be in a position where we have exclusivity over a potential buyer of Manchester United, whether that be the Qatar bid, whether that be Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, whether that be something else entirely. It's at the stage now where, it's getting seriously serious. Seriously serious? Let me say that. Good morning to everybody. Sam Tyler, I can see you down there. Craig, Ian, Scott, Josh, I can see you there, as always, buddy. Ant, you're there too. Daisy, Chris Church, Rego, Nathan, Matt Frost. How you doing, man? You bastard. You've got bags under your eyes bigger than the ones of Glazers. Look at it. They're not that bad. They're not that. If I do like that, you can't see them at all. It's the lighting. No, it's not. I only slept for 2 hours. John, good morning to you. United Don, Sam Chiang, Lawsy Ray, who's on Facebook? Kirsty Anderson, Cody Lee. Good morning to both of you. CJ Shooter, Ezzy Liberty. Lots and lots of you joining in. But today feels, I don't know, today feels significant. I was randomly thinking about it earlier. Glazers have owned Manchester United for 18 years. So I was 16 when they took over the club. So like my entire adult life has been under the Glazers' ownership. And obviously, Fergie was such a genius that he managed to navigate that and still maintain success. Nobody else would have been able to do that. Nobody else. I guarantee you, nobody else. But we're at a point now where we've been waiting for this for a long time. A long, long time. Somebody sent in the super chat there. Let me speak to you. Speak to you? Let me read this out for you. Jordan, is anyone against the Qatari lot taking over? I hope to God or Allah we get them. The amount they have is scary, but they want to take us back to where we were. Now, we've spoken at some depth about the pros and cons of a Qatari bid and takeover, the pros and cons of a Ineos bid and an Ineos takeover. And I will definitely be doing more content on that. I'm not lying when I said that. I've done plenty of it so far, but we'll be doing more. Got an interview on Thursday that I think will be offering some, talking about it from a cultural perspective, because Manchester United is a cultural institution. It's not just a football club. It's, as I said, I think I said this week, our community exists off the back of Manchester United. And there are so many of these around the world. It's so important to so many people. So the idea of you can just sell it off to the highest bidder and not scrutinize and look at every aspect is wrong. And I've done that, and I will continue to do that, as I've said all along. Spence, you're saying that regardless of who ends up taking over, today is a huge day in our history. The Glazers might actually be going. And it's something that I can't even, I don't know. Still kind of, I'm still skeptic. There's still that voice in the back of my mind saying, now, you know what? The Glazers are going to find a way to worm some investment to somehow keep their claws in the club. And I'm scared of that. Of course I am. Until they actually leave, I won't believe it. But we are closer than we ever have been. That is for sure. So what I'm going to do this morning is run through a full update last night from, as I said, James Ducker, Tom Morgan, and Sam Wallace from the Telegraph. Also, an update from Laurie Whitwell in the Athletic, a conversation around that, a conversation around the debt, Jim Ratcliffe. There's lots and lots to speak about this morning. All right. Paulie, you're saying don't. As I said, we'll all have that fear. It's because after 18 years of just lies, broken promises, nobody trusts the Glazers at all. Why would you? Why would we? So until they finally do sell, there's always going to be that fear that they might somehow hold on to the club. I'm going to run through the full news here. All right. I apologize if I'm not 100% this morning, because I'm definitely not. This is the article here. Qatari bidder very confident of winning the race for Manchester United. This is from, as I said, James Ducker, Tom Morgan, and Sam Wallace, the big hitters from the Telegraph. Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is said to be very confident his debt-free bid to buy Manchester United can win over the Glazer family as the $5 billion takeover battle enters its defining stage. Rival bidders have until 9 p.m. on Wednesday to submit their second offers as hopes grow among United fans that the end of the Glazers' controversial 18-year reign is nearing. Imagine we're in a position in, I don't know, fast forward 4 months, and we've got new owners in, and they've laid out their plans for the club. We've got Eric Ten Hag, who's going to be backed in a summer transfer window. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, we'd have total confidence in our football club on and off the pitch, that everybody is heading in the right direction. Everybody's pushing in the same direction and working together to achieve that. Because up until now, it's always been swimming upstream against the Glazers because their priorities were always different to us as fans. We wanted Manchester United to be back to the very, very top, to be competing for the Premier League, to be winning the Champions League. We haven't done that since 2008 and won the league since 2013 because the Glazers haven't given a shit about that. That's not been their priority. They used that top 4 cash cow model. They rinsed and repeated it. You know that. I remember doing that video quite a few years ago now on the Glazers' strategy at Manchester United. How every single year we finished outside the top 4, investment in the summer would increase. And then when we finish inside the top 4, the following summer, there'd be less spending because you've achieved what they wanted to achieve, top 4. They don't really need to go any further. John, Sam, please start to preach. I'm not going to start preaching. That every fan around the world should stick together. Let's stop having to go at each other. That's what the Glazers want. I don't think anybody. I think there will be division over who is the best new owner of Manchester United because everybody's going to have their own priorities, right? I think I've said this quite a few times. For me, one thing that I can't ignore, and that's probably right at the top of my list, is Manchester United becoming a debt-free football club again. It's so important. In my opinion, it's so important. We are a self-sustainable football club. Man United right here, okay? Everything that City have done since 2008 and all the weird investments they've had. Oh, look, you've got a sponsorship by a company owned by your owners. How handy. Still, Manchester United's revenues, despite us being crap for so long, our revenues are like 20 million less than City. Despite them winning 4 out of the last 5 leagues. I think, is it something like that? 4 out of the last 5? We're still right up there. Now, can you imagine how good we could be with owners who allow the club to spend that money? We don't need a sugar daddy to come in and just throw hundreds of millions at new signings. What we do need is somebody to come in and update that. That right there Let's run through this full article. There's still so much more to discuss in this Telegraph article. SS, again, look, I get this. This is that I'm not saying it's a lesser evil in any way, shape, or form. So why are you throwing that accusation at me? And it's nobody should force their opinion on anybody. And I like to think that everybody gets that feeling as part of this community. I don't force my opinion on you. I listen to your opinions in the comments. I take them aboard. Sometimes I disagree. Sometimes I do agree. And I think the human rights issues are a big deal. And that's why I've got some content that will be coming out over that. You know, full well that I'm torn between it. You remember that interview I've done, what was it, like 6-7 weeks ago now, with Nicholas McGeehan from Fair Square, the human rights charity, when this idea of Dubai taking over Manchester United, and it just didn't sit right with me. I was like, it's because I think I realized at that point, I was like, if there really is interest from a Middle Eastern state in taking over Manchester United, I don't know if anybody can compete. And that's why I did that interview with Nicholas, because I wanted to speak to him about it. So like, don't throw bad accusations at me like I'm just ignoring everything. That pisses me off. That does. I think a couple of you are gifted memberships down here. Make sure I don't miss these. 1 second, going up here. Spence, thank you so much, dude. You just gifted 5 memberships to Stephen, Ra, Azim, Krish, and Ross, and Alex. Madon. You have just gifted 5 as well. What are you saying down here? Lone Wolf, Daniel Adam, Thabani, Daniel Barden, and Michael Carasino. Big up to all of you. Think it's time we get out the little symbol. Gongshi. Randomly, I was Googling what the biggest gong in the world is. There's some big old gongs. Gong, starting with a G. All right. Nobody put that in mind. Andy, you've just gifted 5 as well, man. Thank you so much. It's yeah, it's I can't believe that we're in a position where Manchester United are likely to be taken over by a Middle Eastern state. I genuinely can't believe it. And I blame the Premier League for allowing this to happen. I've told you that this is a product of what has come before. When you let Roman Abramovich take over Chelsea in 2000 and was it 3? I think it was. And then you let Man City and Abu Dhabi take over them. This has been coming. You've created a billionaire's playground. I wish it wasn't that case, but it is. Let's run through. There's more of this article to discuss here. As I said, Sheikh Jassim is said to be very confident his debt-free bid will win it. The British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe is still expected to table a rival bid, but the Qataris are now of the firm belief they have the upper hand in what will be a landmark deal. A crisis in... That's an interesting sort of conversation and point to make. Obviously, over this last, week or so, Credit Suisse, a massive Swiss bank, had to be bailed out, I believe. And I think they had about $17 billion worth of debt that was written off. Massive. It's definitely going to be having an impact on the loan market, on the interest market. That's an interesting thing a conversation to have because, of course, the Ineos bid is going to be at least part financed. I don't know whether it's going to be completely financed, but it's going to be in part financed by Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. Not only for the writing off of Manchester United's debt and that going on to Ineos's books, but also probably for the redevelopment of Old Trafford as well. Let me see what you're saying in the comments down here. And you're saying, no, ultimately, this is a product of Real Madrid and Barcelona driving the... No, it's definitely a product of what I've just said there. Mev, how you doing, man? I appreciate that. I do like... I hate bringing praise up. I'd like to stay humble, right? But this is a nice comment. I really appreciate your videos. They keep me sane during these crazy times. I'm nervous about today, mate. I'm nervous about today as well, man. United Forever, you're saying it's a busy day ahead. It is a busy day ahead. But look, let's continue through this article. United are said to be braced for bids in excess of £5 billion. Now, We spoke about this yesterday, about what we thought these bids today would be. But anything north of 5 billion, the Glazers are sitting up and listening. They really are, because that's the 6 billion was a pipe dream. The 6 billion was an overinflation. It was them getting greedy. They knew full well that they were never going to get 6 billion. However, in excess of 5 billion, we've all got that fear that Elliot Management, I'll run through that in a little bit as the article continues, about the fact that they could get investment to buy out their siblings, to maybe to rebuild Old Trafford, build a new stadium, X, Y, Z. But that debt will be leveraged onto the club. They're not very, in this market now, again, off the back of the Credit Suisse situation, causing more concerns for lenders. The Glazers are not a particularly stable. How to describe them? They're not better. The idea of giving them 2 billion right now to pay for everything, everyone's like, that's a bit of a risky lend. Kipper, always great and fair content. Cheers, dude. Thank you very much. Hey, look, some people would agree, some people would disagree. And as I said, that comment that got me earlier, don't put words in my mouth. All right. I like to think I've taken a very balanced point of view on this. And yeah, the debt is fucking important to me. No need to swear there. Sorry. Josh, you're saying, Sam, it needs to be addressed that not wanting a state takeover does not make you a racist. Oh, geez, man. I called that. I've had to call that out like 4 times on this channel. It's such a weird. I've told anybody who's doing that and trying to associate it without any credible. It's not proof. Without there being any credibility to it, you're massively undermining anybody who's calling out racism and xenophobia correctly, because you're just using it willy-nilly. Like, think about what you say online, people. So many people just think you can just say it and just, oh, it's not having an impact on anybody. It's just not the case. Don't be a dick. That's the only rule you need in life. Honestly, just don't be a dick. If you follow that, you'll be fine. That's what I think anyway. Sheikh Jassim's main competition comes from Ratcliffe, as we know, who remained in talks with close aides on Tuesday night. Let's go down here. This is what I just mentioned there. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are understood to be helping bankroll Ratcliffe's offers with bonds and loans beyond the value of United's existing gross debt of 680 mil. Now, there's a few things to speak about there with that debt, right? Manchester United's debt. We know full well what that is based on. That is the actual debt itself that came from the original purchase of the club, which I believe is somewhere in the region of 550 million-ish or so. Then you've got Manchester United right now with the overdrafts that we have with the bank. And I think they're in the region of 100 to 200 million. On top of that, you've also got the fact that Manchester United owe around about 300 million to other clubs for unpaid transfers, player amortization, splitting the cost of a player over a good amount of years. So Man United's debt is probably around about the 1 billion mark. Add on top of that, and this is something that I've always had a concern about with Jim Ratcliffe, right? I've maintained this since day one. I know that the debt is going to be cleared from Manchester United's books, and the debt would be absorbed into Ineos, and they would be responsible and liable for that debt. Not Manchester United, but that's associated debt. The only reason that debt exists on Ineos's books is because they own Manchester United. Therefore, as a business, just like they've just invested 1.4 billion in fracking oil in Texas, they're looking at getting a return on that. They're going to be looking at getting a return on Manchester United. And if they're servicing that debt, they're going to want to somehow turn that profit. How do they do that? We don't know the ins and outs of that. But also, going past the actual Manchester United debt, what about the stadium? Right? Hypothetical situation here. The Ineos bid goes through the exclusivity and Jim Ratcliffe becomes the new owner of Manchester United. How does he pay for that new stadium? How do Ineos pay for that new stadium? it's likely going to be through more financing, more debt. So it probably means that the Ineos debt of buying Manchester United would be in excess of 2 billion on their own books. And it's something that I've always had a bit of a concern about. Rego, how you doing, buddy, down there? I can see in the comments quite a few people making sure that I don't miss that. Can't miss that. 10 gifted memberships from you, dude. Thank you very much, man. You're a ledge. You're an absolute ledge. By the way, it was pointed out to me yesterday correctly by Ant. Big up to you, Ant, for letting me know this. That I hadn't updated the members' perks on the actual channel in quite a while. So I apologize about that. But this week, going to be looking at updating all the emojis. So 30, going to hopefully have 38 new emojis that you can all use during the live stream and the live chat, and lots more on top of that. But yeah, big up to all of you who just continue to help make this community grow, man. What else is it saying down there? There. Sources close to the Qataris, meanwhile, have told Telegraph Sport that Sheikh Jassim, as I said, is very confident his bid is the outstanding offer on the table. And this part here is quite interesting. Sheikh Jassim, we know this, is prepared to invest huge funds in a new stadium and training ground, in addition to heavy backing for the men and women's teams and academy. That could mean a total commitment of around £7 billion. Now, that's just them whipping out a random number. I wouldn't say it's guesswork. It's how much are they going to be paying for the club? 5 billion. How much is a new stadium going to cost? Probably $1.5 billion, 2 billion. Okay, let's put those two together. So the commitment will be that. And the difference between the Qatari bid and the Ineos bid is that the Qatari bid pledged that immediately. They've kind of written their own manifesto already. They're going to be investing in a new stadium. They're going to be investing in the community. They're going to be investing in the men's team, the women's team, and the academy teams, where Ineos didn't do that per se. So it will be 7 billion. And it's wild. And as I said, I think if Old Trafford didn't need well, complete redevelopment in the region of 1.5 to 2 billion, I think there'll be quite a few more interested parties in buying Manchester United. But the fact of the matter is, and that is why we're seeing and reading this pretty much everywhere, the complete confidence that the Qataris have in their bid, because they are a cash bid. It will, pardon me, it will be a bid that makes Manchester United debt free. It will be a bid that doesn't require any lending from Wall Street. It will be a bid that is completely independent is the wrong word, because we all know, like, we're not fools here, right? I know that the Qataris and the 9-2 Foundation are creating that separation between the state and this bid with the 9-2 Foundation, but ultimately nobody spends 5 billion without the Emir of Qatar looking at it and going, okay, cool. So whether or not they can have that degree of separation, there will clearly always be links. And that's an issue for quite a lot of people, and I can completely understand that. Nathan, you're saying that day one of asking for a Barry emoji. I think all of you, I was speaking to Dan, the community manager, big up to you, Dan, about this today. What we're gonna do is probably create a form where you can suggest what emojis you want. So we can create 38 custom emojis for exactly what you would want them to be as members. And once we've got that, we can get them all designed, get them all put on there. And that'll be a really cool perk of being a member here. Let me see what you're saying down here. Andrew, I'm curious how Al Thani can afford that if he's approximately, well, the private wealth of Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani and his father, the former prime minister. I think they've got enough money. They definitely have enough money. Mr. J. Chris, you're saying, will the Glazers want to leave with a good reputation and will they care? I mean, surely that's a rhetorical question. They do not care whatsoever what any United fan thinks of them, and they never have. That's what has made them such abysmal owners. You remember after the Super League collapsed? Do you remember that statement that came out from Joel Glazer? It was the first time that I think it might have been the first time we'd had a statement directly from Joel Glazer. Certainly the first one in a long old time. And then he promised better communication. Remember that fan? Was it that fan share scheme? Ah, bullshit. Where is that? What's happened? False promises. Constant false promises. They've got to go. But until they actually do, we'll always be worried that they're somehow going to find a way to stay. And that's why we're continuing to read through all of this together. Where is it down there? I think was it on this one here? No. Let's move on to The Athletic and what they're saying, all right? Because if you remember, I covered the Telegraph reporting that there were up to potentially 4 bidders coming in with full takeover offers. However, all we're hearing at this point is 2. And that's the Sheikh Jassim bid and the Jim Ratcliffe bid and Ineos. No one else is coming to the table at this moment in time when it comes to full takeovers. Now, look, we know full well that this is red flag city, right? Red flag city. Elliot Management, whatever you want, Elliot Investment Management, arsehole. They want to come in and offer that minority investment to the Glazers, help finance any takeover bid. Basically, they want to try and get into bed with anybody who wants to allow them into their bed. And we have heard previously that Jim Ratcliffe may well be open to that to try and strengthen his own bid. So at this moment in time, we can't rule out the concept that Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos partner with Elliot Investment Management. Because if at this moment in time, we know full well that JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, they've agreed to finance the debt being bought by Ineos and moved on to Manchester United's book, off Manchester United's books and onto Ineos's. And as the Telegraph article wrote right there, they might actually be willing to offer more than that. But still, if you're going to be looking, and I said this already, I'll say it one more time. If you're going to be looking at redeveloping Old Trafford and you're looking at somewhere in the region of 1.5 to 2 billion, then maybe Ineos is going to be looking towards Elliot Management to get that money. Because there's no guarantee he's going to be getting it from Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Truth Seeker, banks collapsing in America and the EU, so more debt will completely destroy the club. Look, I think this is something that was spoken about yesterday, right? I think it was Stephen Howson having a conversation with Laurie Whitwell on Stretford Paddock, and this concept of double debt, or just the phrase double debt. I think it was probably just a clumsy phrase more than anything. But I have a fear of that. I've told you, I've said that since day one of finding out that Ineos would effectively be refinancing the debt. It wouldn't just be wiped out because only the Qataris could do that. It will be moved on to Ineos's books. And I've got concerns about it. I do. I absolutely have concerns about it. Joel and Avram Glazer, we know of this, for example, could look to buy out their other siblings. Now, remember that they tried that, right? Remember that Joel Glazer and Avram Glazer tried to buy out their siblings in the summer. You know, when they went to Apollo Investment, and we all thought that that was going to be conversations around financing a new Old Trafford. No, they went to Apollo Investment to try and buy their siblings out. And they didn't even get that investment. Arseholes, proper arseholes. Will Rain Group be hoping for any more bids? Absolutely. Competitive tension drives up the price. I don't know whether they're going to get any, though. By 9 p.m. today, we will know. By the time that we come here in tomorrow morning's live stream, we will be able to talk with confidence about these second bids. Now, we know that we are expecting both the Qatari bid and the Ineos bid to be north of 5 billion. No one has any. If you're seeing any numbers being said anywhere, it's kind of guesswork at this point. spoken to Ben Jacobs plenty of times here on this channel, and he keeps speaking about how few people know about the actual numbers behind the Sheikh Jassim bid. It's a very small circle of people. So anybody just coming out like, was it David McDonald from the Mirror yesterday coming out with $5.5 billion, just put a number out of thin air. There's no concrete evidence at this point of how big that bid is. It's just that it's going to be north of 5 billion. And if you remember that the initial indicative bids were somewhere in the region of 4 to 4.5 billion, and the Glazers wanted 6 billion, 5 billion, right in the middle of that. That's where compromise and negotiation can exist. And maybe the Glazers are going to try and squeeze a bit more out of it. And I mentioned this yesterday. Like, they're going to try and squeeze maybe 100, 200 mil out of it. Imagine that. Going up 100 or 200 mil. That's the scale of what they're buying. Let's go down here. Mike, you're saying, I still think that Qatar will pay 6 billion just to get it done. They won't, man. They can, but they won't. And I don't particularly think they need to. But they, as I said, they can just up it by 100 mil if they need to. Yeah, go on in. Poof, slap it on. Imagine being that rich. Jeez. Michael Jones is saying 8 were said to be interested. Yeah, there has been a lot of interest from a lot of different parties, but a lot of those 8, I've spoken about these. We've got Elliot Group Management, Investment Management. We've got the Errors Group. We've got MSD Partners. We've got Oak Tree Capital. All these different US investment hedge funds just trying to come in, take a slice of the pie, make a profit, sell it off. That's all they'd want to do. Yeah, I'm going to go down here and see what you're saying down there. Mike, do you think that Joel has already mentally checked out of owning United? Avram, I don't think he has at all. Joel and Avram, both of them have been digging their heels in, man, since day one. They really, really have. Let me see if there's any updates going on the old Twitter about what's going on here. No other updates there. We can go over here to, I hope this doesn't ruin my microphone, by the way. I've blocked all cookies on the Daily Mail website, so technically this shouldn't cause any issues. But what an abysmal website that is. Manchester United could be sold for a world record fee of more than 5 billion, as Man United are expecting increased offers. Let's see what Mike Keegan's saying. Man United will be sold, not could be sold, will be sold for a world record fee, should the Glazers accept one of the incoming bids. Officials are confident that offers of more than £5 billion will be forthcoming. United, look at that. United are expecting 6 bids, which would be a mix of full takeover and partial investment. Now, I've said this quite a lot, but this is one of the most significant points that we're going to find out in this next week or so. Let's say Mike Keegan is right, okay? United are expecting 6 bids, and there's going to be a mix of full takeovers and partial investment takeovers. We don't know whether the next stage is going to be a third round of bidding or a period of exclusivity. And it's very important, this stage, because if it goes to a third round of bidding, then it's exactly the same situation that we were in 2 weeks ago. The Glazers are just trying to squeeze more out of it. The Glazers are being greedy. They can try and get a bit more. Yeah, go on in. 5 billion. Yeah, I reckon we can get them up to 5.2. Let's just go for a third round of bidding. That could happen. However, you could get a period of exclusivity. It's exactly what happened in the sale of Chelsea with the Rain Group, who are leading this. And yeah, I've got to say that I remember the first deadline and we didn't know whether it was a real deadline or not, and it absolutely was. And then this deadline's come out of nowhere because the Qatari delegation was there on Thursday. Ineos was there on Friday. And now we're here on Wednesday and the deadline's 9 p.m., less than a week later. But if that period of exclusivity comes and they choose one bidder, then we know full well that is what the Glazers want. And if that is a full takeover, that is a significant moment for Manchester United fans, because we know at that point that the Glazers have every intention of selling the club in its entirety. I'm waiting for that. I'm excited for that. Jordan, you're saying, can you do a poll, rebuild Old Trafford, new players or new owners? I don't really get that one, Jordan. Rebuild Old Trafford, new players or new owners? What in terms of what the more important thing is? I don't know. John Neal, how you doing, buddy? You're saying at least it's looking more likely that the Glazers will sell. At this moment in time, yeah, it is, because we are looking at bids north of 5 billion, man. 5 bill. And I've said, we've done the maths here before. Let's try and do it quickly again now. I'll get this wrong. But if the Glazers are taking, and they have been up until this season now, taking dividends of 20 mil a year, that's what? 100 mil over 5 years, times that by 10, 50 years for $1 billion. Am I getting this right? Is it 50 years for $1 billion in dividends? And then times that by 5. 250 years? Is that right? They'd have to do dividends of 20 mil a season for 250 years to get 5 billion. I think that's right. I might be completely wrong. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. But that's why it makes sense for the Glazers as well. It cuts me deep. It's so infuriating, the idea that the Glazers, after all of this, are going to walk away with billions upon billions upon billions. That sucks, doesn't it? Absolutely sucks. People are saying I've missed a super chat down here. Sue, how you doing? Apologize about that. Thanks for letting me know, guys. I just can't see the Glazers going for Sir Jim. They will go for the highest bidder or refinance it themselves and bleed us dry. I mean, I can see them going for Sir Jim. But ultimately, and we know this full well, the only thing that's important to the Glazers is money. So therefore, the biggest bid will win. It won't. If the Glazers had, if there was the dream owner, I know this owner doesn't exist, right? That's what I've said all along. There's pros and cons to all of them. If this dream owner existed, perfect. Imagine the most perfect new Manchester United owner, and they were offering 5 billion, and then you got the devil, who's offering the Glazers 5 billion and 20 quid. They would sell it to the devil to get the extra 20 quid. They don't care about the stewardship of the club. They don't care about passing it on to the right people. They just care about making more money for themselves. And that's why we as a fan base, that's why everybody has that responsibility to make sure that whoever comes in, that we understand all angles of it. And it does piss me off. People just shouting, oh yeah, give me that Qatar oil money, blah, 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 blah. And it's just irresponsible. There are pros and cons to all of them. And I've said this all along. There is not one perfect owner. I remember when it first came out around Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and I was dead excited. I remember doing that live stream here. I was buzzing. I think that was the same night. Was that the same day that the Glazers ended up releasing that statement about strategic investment? I think it might have been. But lots of stuff has come out since then, isn't it? Lots and lots of stuff. Alex, you're saying the words custodians of the club, which SJR used, does make me wonder how much Ineos is willing to invest in the club as opposed to just finance. Well, there's been a lot of positivity said about the Ineos delegation because they spoke more from a footballing perspective than the Qatari delegation. The Qatari delegation was it was big hitters and it was financial people. It was Shabazz, I think, Fadi Bakos, who is the personal advisor to Sheikh Jassim, and the head of global at Bank of America. And Shabazz has got like 25 years of experience of working with Bank of America. They were big financial hitters who went there to scrutinize the books and to make sure, okay, everything's in order. We know that this is a fair amount that we can offer now that I've looked at your books properly. Whereas the Ineos bid, because now you can have, and we've spoken about this, concerns over the Ineos ownership of Nice or Lausanne. They have experience. They do have experience, whether it's positive or negative. They have experience of owning football clubs, and therefore they understand a bit more about how it's done. So I think that came across in the delegation, the talks on last Thursday and Friday at Old Trafford. We see what you're saying down here in the comments, man. And you're saying ultimately it's irrelevant to us as nobody cares what we think in all of this. Whatever the result is, we will just have to deal with it going forward. I mean, if you're looking at what look, we protested before the Glazers took over the club. And what happened? The Glazers took over the club amid protests. Even if there was protests, I don't imagine that they would stop any sort of takeover from happening. I don't think we as a fan, I don't think football fans anywhere, at any club would have that sort of power. I might be wrong there. You might have some examples for me. But we've absolutely got to continue scrutinising and making sure that whoever takes over this club does what I don't know how to describe it. Just they have to be the best thing for Manchester United. Man, this has been such a mad period, isn't it? Such a mad period as a United fan. This season has been absolutely bonkers. If you had imagine that, like, can we rewind a little bit and just have like try and think about this? If you had been told at the start of the season that when did the Greenwood stuff come out? Was that Ten Hag dealing with that as well? I can't remember if it was. I don't know whether that happened before. I think that might have happened just before he took over. Then the Ronaldo situation that develops and happened to Ten Hag and everything that's happened on the pitch this season. And then in November, I think it was in November that we got the statement from the Glazers. And that was when Ronaldo had that interview with Piers Morgan. There's so much stuff has happened this season. Man, imagine they were filming an all or nothing documentary this season of Manchester United. Jeez, that'll be some blockbuster TV. Because it's been crazy. Really has been. My word. I don't know. Yeah, today is such a significant day for us as a fan base. And that's all I can say. I'm not going to come here and just, I don't know. I don't know how to react to it. Part of me is fundamentally against a Qatari takeover because of everything that I remember when City were taken over by Abu Dhabi. I remember arguing against it as a fan base, and we have argued against it as a fan base for so long. I can't just ignore that and pretend that it didn't happen. Pretend that I wasn't arguing that for 10, 15 years. However, everything that has happened since has created this bottleneck situation where I can't really personally look past the Qatari bid as the one that's going to win because of the money involved, because of the money needed with the infrastructure and the redevelopments. It's mad. And you're saying down there, it's what did you say? You said we've been hurt by the Glazers, so now we're scared. Yeah, of course we are. We're about to get new owners. I hope. I swear to God. If this, no, it won't. It won't. It doesn't make any logical business sense for the Glazers to hang on here. There really isn't. There's their business model of using the legacy value of Manchester United as a brand. They've bled that dry. They have bled that dry. They can't do it anymore because we haven't won the league since 2013. We haven't won the Champions League since 2008. We don't remember. There's kids that are growing up that don't remember watching Manchester United lift a Premier League trophy, that don't remember watching United lifting the Champions League trophy. That's how long it's been. And that's why they're trying to cash out, because they know full well they can't do it anymore. They tried and they tried. They've even tried to get all the investment and they still haven't been able to get it. Nathan, you're saying, I appreciate you giving your opinion so plainly. Others have been reluctant to say what they think. Nathan, it's because it's such a delicate situation. Yeah, it's not nice. Geez, I remember covering this at the very beginning with the Dubai situation, and you have to talk about. You can't just bury your head in the sand, go, "Oh yeah, Qatari takeover, brilliant," and just ignore everything. You cannot do that. Just in the same way that I've scrutinized the Ineos bid, I've scrutinized everything. Right? I've definitely got responsibility here with United People's TV, with this community, to look at every angle, to be as balanced as possible. You know full well that the word agenda has been thrown at me so much this year. Remember the Ronaldo situation? Jeez. I got some pelters for that Ronaldo situation. Ultimately, proven completely correct because he was an idiot and he only cared about himself. But the only agenda I've got is I want what is best for Manchester United as a football club. And it's hard to look past the financial structure of a Qatari takeover. But at the same time, there are moral obligations that we have to discuss as a fan base, which I'll be honest, I don't think I've covered enough here on United People's TV. And I've seen mad stuff. Like, I think Miguel Delaney, right? He writes for The Independent. He's gone way too far on the negative side of things. He's very much coming from one angle, and it comes across in what he's done. But you've got to have that balance as fan. I'm hopefully going to be speaking to and to having a couple of interviews that really will be looking at it from more of a cultural perspective. There's so much that we still need to discuss. Feels like a strange show this morning. I think I just realised that it's a very significant day for United. This could be a day which shapes the future of our club. It really, really could be. I'm going to go down here and try and read a few of your comments. Matt Frost, I don't know how you do it. Which hand do you use? Hold. I'm a right-hander with the toothbrush when I clean my teeth. Do you just like Google what are the most random questions in the world? Somehow you keep catching me. I look down, I see your ones. So you're doing a show tomorrow at 9 a.m. or later, depending on when the news breaks. Hey, look, CJ, I'll be here later on. You know full well that if things break, and today will be a day of breaking news. I imagine there's a big chance that I go live a little bit later on today with an extra show, depending on if we get real confirmation on the numbers. That's probably what I would say. If we get real confirmation on the sizes of those bids, I might go live. Owen McLovin, to be fair, your Ronaldo agenda has moved on to De Gea now. No, I've got no agenda against De Gea. De Gea is such a delicate situation as a fan base, isn't it? Such a delicate situation. Something that I've stand by. What got you here won't get you there. As a fullness of life. Like right now on this weekend, I'll let you in on a little secret. Not really a secret. I think I've told you about it already. I'm going to be completely pulling everything out that you can't see here. We're going to be having a new desk, a new setup, new lights, new everything, new hardware that you've enabled me to get because you're so incredible as a community. And this whole setup has been brilliant so far, but I want to take it to the next level. And what I've got right now is not capable of allowing me to do that. So that's why I'm upgrading that. Everything you see behind you in the next couple of months, going to completely redesign it. Going to have a brand new look. I don't know when that's going to happen. It will take some time. And also, there's just so much cool stuff coming. I promise you on the United People's TV. It's wicked. It really, really, really is wicked. I keep telling you, I do reinvest what you put into the channel. I think somebody man. Spence again. Dude, thank you so much, man. Gifting 5 memberships. Legend. What are you saying down here in the comments? Last couple of minutes, fire in any questions you want. It could be about the takeover. It could be about anything else. If you want, fire those in. Abby, you're saying the only thing that a Qatari bid concerns me a lot about is a number of charges being put on the City Group for fraud and other counts. SJR in. I'm not really sure how those two things are linked. City, we knew that Everybody knew that City were cooking their books since day one. Everybody knew it. They were getting like multi-million-pound sponsorship deals from companies that were linked directly to their owners. It was just shady. United don't need to do that. Our revenues are pretty much on par with City, and we've been crap for ages. Imagine what happens when we actually start being good again, and we get that new shirt sponsorship. We get all these new deals. Jeez, we are a self-sustainable football club. We were before the debt, and we will be after the debt. It's just that massive investment that's required in bringing United back up. All the things that we've been lacking in. Investment in the stadium, investment in the training facilities, and the ongoing standard investment that you need inside your first team in terms of transfers for the men's, the women's, and the academy sides. And you're saying, Sam, I think the new studio should be in Old Trafford, and this should be the club's official social media partner. Well, maybe when the Glazers leave, we could start working with the club. I don't think Manchester United will want to work with me at the moment. I'll be completely honest. The back catalogue of anti-Glazer content I've got on this channel. Jeez. Ruben, you're saying, what do you think is best for the club? I'm a big believer in the fact that Manchester United should be self-sustainable again, that debt shouldn't be a conversation. And that's why that part is so important to me. And that's a big plus for me of the Qatari possible takeover. And I've said that. Jane Smith, what was your favorite cartoon growing up? It's a good question. I used to love, what was it called? Damn it. Pink Panther. I used to love Pink Panther. I used to have this VHS where there was like a minute and a half of this episode of Pink Panther that just went fuzzy, and I never knew what happened in the middle. I still haven't watched it. What are we saying down here? Samwise, new owner should build a new Sam Platts. Jeez, Sam Platts, man. That takes me back. Wasn't that the place we used to go there? You used to get a crate. You used to get a crate of Fosters, and you go stand outside underneath the tents. Man, Sam Platts was the one. What are we saying down here? Alex, you're saying, how do you think Old Trafford gets rebuilt if Thani is the new owner? How long and where do we play meanwhile? Alex, that is such a big question, and I'll be completely honest. I don't know what. I'm doing some research into this as well, but with the research team that have been built off the back of the community. Quite a few members have come in, and we're starting to look and doing some deep dives into some big conversations. And one of them is the redevelopment of Old Trafford. Like, who owns that land? Is that land going to be involved in the sale of Manchester United? Is that going to be involved in the price of Manchester United? There's lots and lots that we need to discuss down here. Sue, you had your wedding reception at Sam Platts. Now that's a 10 out of 10. That is a 10 out of 10 for you. What are we going down here? Something I really don't do enough. Appreciate you saying that, Chief. How many people are watching right now? We've got 2,300 of you watching. We've only got 500 likes on the video. There's 1,700 of you right now. If you can just drop a like on the video, and if you are new to United People's TV, please do subscribe. I like to think that it really is the best United community out there. Look, I might disagree with something that you say in the comments, but I'm not just going to completely dismiss you. I can have a conversation around it. You might disagree with certain things I say, but I don't just ignore and just dismiss what you've got to say. I take it on board and we have a conversation around it. Alex, you're saying shout out to Stewie, who's building the new United People's TV website. Yeah, big up to Stu, big up to Alex, who are helping with that. It's what I mean behind the scenes. We're building a United People's TV website that's going to be so integral for building the engagement going forward, a proper home for the community. Building out a newsletter that's going to be going out once a week. That's going to be cool. There's some original content in there. A cartoon, big up to Andy, who's going to be doing some cartoons, old school, for the newsletter every week. Podcast is now 2 podcast episodes per week. We're here Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. every single day. I might do a lunchtime video today. I might wait until later. Not quite sure yet. We'll find out. But look, I'm going to wrap this up for today, or we might just get stuck in a conversation all day. Today is significant. Today's a big day in the history of our club. We're expecting 2 bids from Ineos and from Sheikh Jassim in excess of £5 billion. I don't think the Glazers can ignore those bids and just keep the club. That's what I'm hoping, but we'll find out. We'll certainly have more clarity when we speak tomorrow morning. Big up to all of you. Big up to Spence. Big up to every single person who gifted memberships. Best community in the world. And we're about to get new owners. And when we've got Ten Hag and new owners who both want one thing, getting Manchester United back to the top, put your seatbelt on, man. Because the next few years, it's going to be in... I can't wait to see United winning the Premier League again. Take it easy, everyone.